go. We gotta get back to 2020 so we can play Back to the Future, Back in Time. Get in the time machine.
Lance, why would we want to go back to 2020?
All right, suit yourself. I'm out of here.
Great Scott!
Oh no, something went wrong.
Lance, you've got to fix this. Great Scott! Lance, you've got to fix this.
Great Scott!
Hey guys, this is Back to the Future, Back in Time on the table here. And the first thing I want to let you guys know, this is a cooperative game. And so by nature, cooperative games are good to play with non-gamers because everybody wins together or everybody loses together. You're not competing against each other, you're competing against the game. And so that's a good thing. But a bad thing about it is that you can get into the bad habit of quarterbacking your non-gamer friends during their turns. And essentially what that means is telling them how to play their turn, and you play the game for them essentially. And that is not fun for them. So be mindful of that you're not doing it. So how this game works, essentially you represent one of the characters from the movie, either Doc Brown, Marty McFly, Jennifer Parker, or Einstein the dog, and you're gonna put your person right here in Town Square. And this is Hill Valley. And so on each turn, you're gonna be basically doing two phases. The first phase is you're gonna move the turn tracker token to where it goes at the beginning of the game. On each turn thereafter, you're gonna move it down the line. And there are gonna be different icons on this board that tell you what you should do on that turn. And so let me go over those real quickly. A trouble icon means you're gonna flip out one of these trouble cards depending upon what level you're in, level 1, 2, and 3. And these cards essentially make the game harder for you. They represent Biff and his gang and them doing things throughout the course of the movie that make things miserable for George and Lorraine and Marty and Doc. And so they go on certain spaces on the board, and you'll want to go to those spaces to take care of the challenge and get it removed off the board. The movement cards are going to make the game more difficult as well. They're going to move the different characters around the board and make it more difficult for you to track them down. So that one in particular said, we're going to move Lorraine clockwise 2 spaces. And so she would go 1, 2. And on that note, if you look at the board here, there are 10 spaces on the board, but George, Lorraine, and Biff cannot go through Town Square. So they don't go in the center space, they can only go around it, and so that's why it says clockwise or counterclockwise. For every Biff icon you see on these cards, Biff is gonna move towards one of those characters. And if he's ever in a space with George or Lorraine and there are extra Biff icons to deal with, you lower this cube 1 space on the love meter track. And this track represents George and Lorraine falling in love with each other. So that's how the game gets more difficult for you. Once you've done that, you're gonna take your actions. And so that involves your player board here. And each character starts off with 5 different tokens that represent the different dice they can use to take actions. They also are how you move in the game. And so you can flip over one of these tokens to move 3 spaces. And you can move your character on the board to do that. Once you're in a certain space, you can carry out one of these actions. So let me explain what they do. The influence love action you would do if you're ever in the same space with both George and Lorraine together. So let's say that we've done that. We flipped over one, we're gonna move Doc 3 spaces, 1, 2. You can also move Lorraine or George, but you can't move both of them at the same time, and move them with you. So we would say 3, and then we're gonna flip over another one and go 1, 2, 3, and now we're in the same space with George and Lorraine. And so then we could, did a second one to move there, so then we could flip over any of these dice that we want to do to try to make George and Lorraine fall in love. So I'll just flip over all 3 of these. And so we had a pink, a yellow, and a blue. So let me explain these dice to you guys. Pink, yellow, and blue. And we would roll them in the clock tower, because the clock tower represents a dice tower. And so we put them in there, and that's what we get. Now there's different icons on each of the dice. The blue dice are gonna have stars on them. Yellow are gonna have these arrows. Pink are gonna have hearts on them. Whoops. and the green is going to have these knowledge icons on them. And so what you're trying to do on an influence love challenge, you need to get hearts or lightning bolts, because hearts and lightning bolts can be wild, and that will help you to help them fall in love. Now, when you roll these dice, you can re-roll them as many times as you want to try to get the things you need. So if I rolled this and this is what I got, I would definitely re-roll this blue one, because the star does me no good on trying to help them fall in love. And hopefully I get another lightning bolt, because if I did, if that was what I had, I would get to raise the love meter by 3, because I had 1 heart and 2 lightning bolts. Now, there are unfortunately biff icons on each of the dice. And whenever you get a biff, that die is locked. It stays a biff for the rest of that action, and you can't do anything about it. And you could re-roll the other ones, but again, you're risking getting more biffs. And when you get biffs, just like on the movement cards, he's going to move that number of spaces closer to George and Lorraine, and if he's ever in the same space as one of them, then that's going to bring down the love meter. Now that's how you do influence love. To fight Biff, you have to be in the same space as Biff, and you're hoping to get these stars or lightning bolts again. And for every star and lightning bolt you get, you can, for the first one, knock Biff down, and each additional one thereafter, you're gonna KO him, and those essentially negate Biffs. When you get Biffs later on in the game, the Biff icons, you're gonna take 1 token off for each one, and then when there are none left, he stands back up, and now he's ready to terrorize Hill Valley once again. So that's how you do that. To move the DeLorean and prepare the DeLorean, you have to be in the same space as the DeLorean to move it, and you're hoping to get the arrows, or again, the lightning bolts. And for each one that you get, you're gonna move it 1 space down this track. And as you can see, this track goes all throughout Hill Valley, and then it stops right here in Doc Brown's driveway. And when it does, you will have had to have gathered the gasoline, the cable, and the hook. And those are different tiles scattered throughout Hill Valley that you need to get to and do a knowledge roll and hopefully get the knowledge icons to be able to pick those pieces up. And once you do, then you can continue the DeLorean along its track around the board. And by the end of the game, you need to have the DeLorean in one of these 3 spots, because that's represents where Marty was when lightning struck and the DeLorean went back to the future. That is something you have to do before the end of the game in order to win. The other thing you need to do is you need to make sure that the love meter is all the way on the hearts there, because that represents George and Lorraine falling in love. Now, while we're on this real quick, if you will recall, on the turn tracker, there are these love meter check icons. And so what happens on a turn where there's one of those, you're gonna look at this and see where the love meter track is at. If it's on a number between 0 and 12, you're gonna flip one of these tiles over, and that represents Marty and his siblings fading from existence. If you ever flip all 6 over, you immediately lose the game. If you're on a negative number, you're gonna flip 2 of those over, and so that's even worse. So you wanna definitely watch out for that and not let all the tiles turn over. If you can keep the love meter in the hearts, and you can keep the DeLorean on one of the spaces, there at the end of the game, when the clock strikes 10:04, you will have won the game and sent Marty back to the future. Otherwise, you will lose the game, and Marty will be stuck in the past, or he'll fade from existence. There are a couple of other things, such as these opportunity cards that you can do and complete. If you can get the icons there doing a challenge roll, you get the reward, and that is a power token. And what those power tokens do, you can draw one and add it to your board, and essentially these give you better tiles to use on your turn and more dice to use, or you can like make lightning bolts be double lightning bolts and that sort of thing. So it makes the game easier for you. And that is how you play Back to the Future, Back in Time. Okay, so full disclosure going into this, we played this game twice. The first time we played it with 2 other friends for a 4-player game, and the video you're watching here is between Sam and I in a 2-player game. So we played it twice now, And both times that we've played it, we have made it all the way to the very end and losing on the last roll of the game, both times. And so I want you guys to know that as we go into our thoughts on this game here. And I'll also let you know that I am a huge Back to the Future fan. Love all three movies. It's one of my favorite series of movies, and just absolutely love the idea behind it. And so you probably can kind of guess where I'm going to go on this game and what I like about this game. I'll just go ahead and share with you guys. I love this game. I thought this game was a blast. There are so many emotional highs and lows with this game. This game just draws you in, especially if you're a fan of the series of movies. With dice games, as often is the case, there are highs and lows. But with this game, and the other big thing I like about this game is the theme. Just draws you in so well. The first 40 minutes of our two-player game here, we were just getting beat up by the game, and Biff was just all over us. We could not get Biff away from us, and the love meter was in the negative for most of the entire time. We flipped over almost all of the picture tiles, and then the last 10 minutes of the game, we completely turned it around, and we were one roll away from winning the game, and it just made for such an exciting end. So I absolutely loved that about this game. How about you, Sam? What were some of the things you liked about this game?
I mean, on more simpler terms, I thought it was easy. For the most part, it was easy to understand. It did take me playing it once, understanding it better at the end of that first game, and then going into the second game, really understanding the game more thoroughly and being able to play it better. But it is a pretty simple game. You roll, you move, you do what the cards say, but it does have a really fun aspect to it with the DeLorean and the love meter, and things change quickly. You have to communicate with the other people. You get to use their tiles, they get to use yours. So it's just fun. I do like cooperative games in general, just because I don't feel like if I lose it, it's because I didn't understand it. I like that I have somebody else there that kind of, for lack of a better term, holds your hand through it a little bit, depending on who the person is you're playing with. So it was fun, simple, but fun.
Yeah, you brought up a good point there, that this game is very cooperative in the sense that you can actually play some of your own dice on other people's turns if you're in the same space. And that makes for a lot of fun for everybody at the table. You never feel like you're out of anybody's turn, that you could still play on their turns. So let's talk about the knocks against this game. For me, there are just the smallest knocks against this game. The clock tower, as cool as it looks, is a little cheaply made. My copy of it, the paper was already starting to peel away as I bent the pieces in the directions they're supposed to go. It's just a small knock against it. I was able to use some glue to glue it back together, and it's fine now, but that's one small knock. The only other small knock that I have against this game, and it's just because it's dice. Dice can go good, dice can go bad. As I mentioned, the two times we played this, it was a very exciting ending, but it literally came down to one dice roll. We did everything we could to get there to get a win, and it was just one dice roll away from happening. And sometimes that can be so heartbreaking, but it just makes you want to come back and play the game all the more. So it's not even really truly a knock against the game. How about you, Sam? What are some negatives that you find on this game?
Like I said, the first time I played it, it did take me a little while to understand that just because you flip over a pink dice tile doesn't necessarily mean you have to roll the pink dice. Or because you're going for love, you don't have to roll the pink dice, is what I mean. So that was a little complicated for me to understand. Very basic for probably most gamers, though. So after I played it a second time, I totally got it, and it made more sense. I am a little frustrated that we played twice and lost both times at the very end. If we play a third time and lost again, I don't think I'd be interested in playing it again.
Come on.
I think it would be too frustrating. Like, you can't win it. It is an enjoyable game to play, though. So maybe I would. But I would like to win.
You can't give up that easy. But yeah, you can raise another good thought there, and that is that you want to make sure that everybody at the table understands how the dice work, and that you can use them on different kinds of challenges, not just the ones that are for that certain type of dice.
I think another big difference between the first game and the second game is we actually watched the Back to the Future movie between the two games, because they were different days. And just watching it, which it had been a very long time for me, and seeing it and then playing the game, and kind of it brings it back.
Right, yeah, and that bringing that back is a good idea to do for people who haven't watched the movie in a long time, or as in the case of our 4-player game, we had 2 people that had never seen the movie before, so you definitely want to have the people at the table know what you're playing on. So for this game, I am going to give this game a 9 because I absolutely love it. No knocks against it. How about you, Sam?
The first time I was going to give it a 6. After the second time, I'll probably give it an 8.
Wow, so high numbers for this game, guys. A 9 and an 8. Okay, so Sam, the big question. Would you recommend this to be a game to play with non-gamers?
Yes, but it would definitely help if they enjoyed Back to the Future.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And if they don't like Back to the Future, they should not be your friends. Plain and simple. Okay, so I recommend you guys go out and get this game. There's a link for it in the description below to buy on Amazon. Check that out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to us. This has been Love to Hate. We'll catch you next time. See you later, guys.